Everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, traveling the world, traveling the East Coast. It's Tim Legler. How you doing, Legs?
What's up, man? Good. Just a little stopover at home in Jersey, so we can spend some holiday time with some family and friends. So that's all.
Yeah.
All good.
Jersey. What a nice holiday vacation destination. Everybody trying to get to Jersey for the holidays.
I know it's not necessarily the top of the list for people. Though I will say I like this. I like the Jersey Shore this time of year, man. Super quiet. A lot of businesses are closed, but enough is open that you can just, enjoy your good restaurants and all that without waiting at all. So it's kind of a nice time to be at the shore. Really.
Legs a beach guy. We're really learning. What was the game you always play there? What is it? The spike ball?
No. We play
bags.
Bags. We call it bags. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cornhole is like the official name. We just call it bags. I have a bag set. We'll travel, carry them at all times. You never know when a good bag game could break out.
I'm so bummed you're not in Denver till March. We're going to have something. I mean, when you get here in March to cover a Nuggets game on your schedule, we're going to have to get everything in. Our 3-point competition, our bags competition. It could be a tough week for you. If you're going
to include bags and beer pong in there, you got a real problem on your hands. Not to mention the other stuff. The others, I actually think you might have a better chance.
The 3-point
shooting. You might have a better chance in the shooting competition than the bags of the beer pong.
I love this, man. We could probably sell tickets to this competition. I think people would want to check it out. We got a great show, man. There's a lot of storylines from over the weekend. And because it was a long weekend, we haven't talked since before Christmas. You called a Christmas Day game that featured the Los Angeles Lakers, and you have been chomping at the bit to talk about that game and the state of the Lakers, because there's a lot going on there, despite the fact that they get a win last night, an easy win last night. So we're going to talk about them. We're also going to talk about the Clippers suddenly showing life. 4 in a row. Kawhi Leonard goes for a career-high 55 points. And then we got some players to highlight. Jaylen Brown, Anthony Black, Scottie Barnes. Some guys that are maybe a little under the radar. I don't see a lot of conversation about them, but they're all having some interesting years, some interesting recent games. So we're going to get to all that. But let's start with some layup lines to get us loose here today on this Monday. And I'm going to start with a story that I'm interested in. I don't know if you are. If you watched New Orleans versus Phoenix over the weekend, you saw a rare NBA fight and a legitimate fight. These days when we talk about a fight, some guys getting the chest bump and, a guy kind of hip checks, this or that. We had actual punches both ways in this fight between Jose Alvarado and Mark Williams. But here's the thing. Jose Alvarado, who got off a clean punch, he did the little guy thing. When you're an undersized guy, you get in close, you grab the jersey, you hold close, you take away the distance. It's almost like we're breaking down boxing here. He closes the distance, he gets in close, and he holds on till he can land one clean right-handed punch right to the chin of Mark Williams. And I'm curious what you thought of the fight, but more importantly, Jose Alvarado got a 2-game suspension. And when I heard that, I go, man, the NBA has done a lot to get fighting out of basketball. They don't want it in there. 2 games for a legitimate haymaker, punch. I go, wow. I wonder if more guys now look at that, role players in particular, and say, might be worth it.
I don't know if that's the case, but look, I think here's the thing. First of all, you're right. By comparison to most NBA fights, it was legit. Like, guys, I don't know that I would call what Mark Williams did actually throw a punch. It was kind of like, or it was an attempted punch, but because Alvarado was so into his body that he ended up hitting him kind of with the inside of his elbow.
No, you know what it was, Legs? It was a plausible deniability punch. That's the punch you throw where you want to throw a punch, but you also want to tell the league office, I didn't throw a punch. I mean, I kind of fell on his head.
It was like a shunch. It was like a shove punch. I call it a shunch.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It wasn't real. Alvarado's was legit.
Now
he didn't. I will say this. It looked like watching it full speed live. You're like, when I watched the first replay of it, it looked like he really caught him like flush on the jaw. It wasn't as bad once you look at a couple of slower motion replays. Kind of a brush, like a brush across his cheek, more or less.
It surprised him. Mark Williams had the look of like, did I just get punched?
No doubt about it. And there were some great expressions on other players on the court when that punch was thrown too. Now, I will say though, he legitimately did throw a punch. I mean, he was trying to fight, which was what I always laugh about when we talk about these fights. Like, if you're going to fight.
Yeah.
But most guys, it's not really going to get to that level in the NBA. There's so many people in the court. They're immediately going to get to you. Most guys want them to get to you. You don't really want it. And look, some of it is not because you're not tough or something. It's you're being smart. I mean, in a lot of ways, guys holding back in that moment, you are showing some restraint. Like, you don't get a 5-game suspension, or it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost your team. So look, by what we normally see, it was more than that. And it was the classic big man, little man, setting a screen on a little guy, and like they take exception to it, man.
Yeah.
And here we go. Or sometimes it's the little guy setting the back pick in like the kidney area of a big. Like that would start fights. When I played in the 90s, like Jeff Hornacek, John Stockton in Utah would set those kind of picks where they would throw that forearm right into the kidney of like a big guy on the back pick to get Karl Malone to roll into the post. And like guys would want to fight Stockton and Jeff Hornacek for that. So this was the opposite. Big guy on little guy. Alvarado didn't like it. They square off, punches thrown, and boom, here you go. 2 games for Alvarado, mainly because his was the most legit punch, and it did connect.
So you played in an era where there were more fights. Were you ever on the court for a particularly memorable fight? Were there ever punches thrown in a game you were a part of?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sure there were. At the top of my head, not one that was like going to make some real, like you can look at 30 years later and be like, oh, that was one of the most memorable fights we ever had in the NBA. Nothing like that. But yeah, and I actually probably saw the best fights in practice. Those were probably the best fights I saw, were ones that took place in practice with 2 guys playing in the same spot that were fighting for minutes or whatever. And they just like, enough's enough. Like, you get tired of guarding that guy. Because this was an era, Adam, when that stuff could lend itself to fighting, because you were practicing far more often during the week between games. Like, even if you played on a Monday and Wednesday, like you're playing a tape. We had a taped practice on Tuesday, ankles taped. Like, you're going to go full scrimmage, ankles taped, full contact on that day in between 2 games. So the frequency of like actual physical contact in practice was far greater. So it would lend itself to that. 2 guys getting sick of each other, that didn't like each other from a personality standpoint, probably. And then now here we go. We're halfway through a season, and they're just sick of seeing each other every day. There's a lot of chirping going on probably in practice, and then somebody's had enough and they're going to throw a punch. I saw a number of those throughout my NBA career, probably better than anything I saw in a game.
Well, this Alvarado Mark Williams one's my second favorite scuffle of the year. My first favorite, and I don't think it'll ever be topped, is going to be Desmond Bane full on throwing the basketball. Who was it that he threw it at? I already forgot.
It was OG Anunoby.
OG Anunoby. That's right. Yeah. That's my favorite one of the season. I don't know if it's going to be topped. Just a hilarious play.
It's like passive aggressive, right? It's like, hey man, I'm just trying to like make a play, you know what I mean?
Out on him, and he points afterwards. It's the best.
I didn't actually throw a punch at you, but that might have hurt more than what Alvarado did to Mark Williams.
It might be right. I have to ask you the big question now, because we have not talked since Christmas Day, which was when the Oklahoma City Thunder lost their 3rd game of the year to San Antonio. I said this on Friday's show because me and Jason Tim broke down the game, but I talked about how I didn't like that they were playing 3 times in 2 weeks. I'm wrong. I was wrong. I love that they played, because of the outcome now is very interesting. I think almost every other time you go 2-1, like you play a team 3 times in a row, somebody's going to win 1, somebody's going to win 2. But now that the Thunder, who have barely lost this year, have lost 3 in a row to San Antonio, has your opinion on the Thunder changed at all, and just how dominant that you thought they were?
It's changed in this regard. I think I've gone from thinking that it was almost inevitable they were going to win a championship, like unbeatable, to beatable. Beatable. Like it is possible. That's not a fluke when you get a team 3 times in a row in a short period of time. Like, especially when a team like Oklahoma City, when they have lost games, even going back to last year, their typical response to that is pretty incredible. Even within games, what they are able to do to you defensively when they've had a rough half. And it's not like Dagnall is a guy in there that's going to be screaming and yelling and kicking chairs and stuff like that. He's not like that, but their group has had an amazing response to whatever his message is, or sometimes it's just collectively their own message amongst the players. They got a lot of pride, and they've been able to flip a switch on nights when they didn't play well for a half or a game after which they didn't play their best defensively, and they've been able to do things that quickly, immediately get it back on track to where you go, yeah, nobody's really beating them. And that's kind of how I felt about them prior to this stretch. Now, look, not everybody has what San Antonio has defensively with that level of physicality on the perimeter with their guards, and then obviously that level of presence behind you with Wembanyama. So not everybody has that, but what impressed me was what they were able to do offensively against Oklahoma City. It was almost as if their swagger, especially by the time you got to that third game, it was obvious that they were basically just playing freewheeling basketball, thinking you guys can't deal with us. So I've gone from in order to change my opinion, I needed to see something drastic. I think I just did, with one team beating that team 3 times in a row in a very short period of time when Oklahoma City was pouring everything they had into making the adjustments and they couldn't adjust. So look, does that mean everybody in the league? Or that's silly, but like say the other top 3-4 teams can get them now? I'm not sure I'm ready to go there, but clearly there is a team in this league that has proven like they can be beaten, and they could be beaten in a 7-game series potentially. And so that's where I changed, because I didn't think that was going to happen this year. I was almost inevitable in my head. This was going to be a back-to-back champion. It was just a formality getting through the playoffs. That's how good they looked to me beginning of the year. San Antonio everybody has to rethink that now.
So I think my opinion has changed more about San Antonio than it has for Oklahoma City. You know, as those are big wins, and they've proven they are not afraid of that team. They almost didn't take pride in playing that team. And on top of that, they're just good in general. I mean, a 2 seed and getting some big wins. They have a very good resume of wins. So I think my opinion has changed on them more, but it has changed on Oklahoma City a little bit as well, because, you know, Oklahoma City, and this is going to sound like such a knock, I think that they are, what separates them from the other good teams in the league is that they just don't seem to drop the bad ones. They dominate bad teams in a way that other good teams can struggle. On any given night, you can struggle. But then when you get into the good teams, and their schedule will get tougher here in the coming weeks, they're going to start. The West has somehow not played each other yet. The top teams in the West have maybe one game here or there, but they haven't played each other a lot. And I'm just curious to see how they handle that. And there was a great comment in the chat here from the Uno who talks about how OKC is so reliant on SGA in the half court. And I think this is true. And Jaylen Williams so far, was injured, missed a lot of the year. He's ramping up, but he's averaging 4 fewer points in a game this season. And I think when you thought about them making a leap and being a better team this year, it's like, well, Jaylen Williams, SGA is already the MVP, but Jaylen Williams is still on the ascent. So far, he's off to a little bit of a slower start. And the big thing is with Wemby and the perimeter containment that San Antonio has, Shea in all of the games they've played against San Antonio has been settling for his contested step-back threes, just more than he has in other games. And that sticks out to me, because you always wonder, if you can take away a great team's comfort zone, if you could take it away, what do they look like executing in their least favorite option? And Shea still struggled in those games to make his three when he wasn't able to get into the paint.
Yeah, no, it's the differentiating factor for him, because he's at the point now where he's developed over the last 3 years. It's a shot that has to be honored enough, and against a guy like that's that shifty and that crafty with what he does with his dribble and then his ability to draw fouls, it's changed everything for him. You have to honor that now. It was a shot that you just kind of dared him to shoot. You lived with it. You hoped he took more threes than free throws on a given night. You had a chance if that was the case. And he developed that shot to the point where he's not going to beat you necessarily taking 10, 12, 15 of those like some star players in this league can and will on a given night. But he makes it enough that you have to be a little bit more up on your toes with your weight shifted forward, and that's just enough to make him almost unstoppable off the dribble to get where he wants to go. And to me, what stood out to me about these games, Adam, particularly the last one, was, okay, now coming into it, Emirates Cup, neutral court, right? There's stuff that you could build into that and say, it wasn't Oklahoma City's night. It was Oklahoma City had a dud last year, similar situation. You're like, okay, that second one was really impressive, right? They get them by 20. So now I'm thinking, okay, now here comes the response from OKC. The third one to me was the most impressive because you got what you knew was going to be Oklahoma City's best punch. And their reaction was so stoic after the game. Everybody came across like no big deal. Dagnall didn't look any different on the bench as you're watching it throughout the game. San Antonio scored 4 or 5 times in a row when OKC needed a couple stops to like get back in the game, and they couldn't get it. And you're kind of going, man, I wonder what they're really thinking right now. Like, really, is it no big deal? It's fine. I don't know. I know this. They play one more time this year. It's January 13th. It's weird. They're going to play them 4 times within 1 month, and that's it, right? Unless they got them again.
No, that should be it.
Because the Emirates Cup didn't really count though. They got them again February 4th. My fault. Yeah, they're going to play them 5 times because the Emirates Cup was an added game. They already had 4 on the schedule, so they got them one more time February 4th. But still, that's basically 5 times within like 6 weeks, and that's it. And I'm kind of glad because I don't know how those 2 games are going to play out. Even if it's a split and San Antonio gets them 4-1 on the year and you don't have to see that matchup again until May, that would be an incredible amount of anticipation. I was so impressed with the fact that San Antonio just looked them dead in the eye and were like, you can't deal with us on either end. And Oklahoma City did not have the sufficient response to get a win in that last game. The third one was the one I fully expected Oklahoma City to get, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and I'm glad it's made the season more interesting. I almost feel like it's what the NBA needed because there was this, I think, 26-1, best net rating of all time. There was a sense of like, okay, well, is this how the season's going to go? And you don't want that. You want a sense of vulnerability, even with great teams, and that's what I think San Antonio has provided, this level of doubt. And as I said, more than anything, I just feel differently about San Antonio right now, certainly than I did a month ago. But even from 2 weeks ago, I look at them and say, man, this team might be a juggernaut, and they're just getting healthy and just starting to show us what they can do, and it's really, really frightening. Let's go to the final thing here on Layup Lines, which is that the NBA has stated that they want to resolve tanking. They see it as a problem right now, and they want to they're looking at ways for them to improve, to lessen and weaken tanking. But here's my take, Legs. Is it really a problem right now? I think if you asked me who the tanking teams are, Washington has been tanking. They're the one team that I look at and say they seem to be handicapping themselves. You can even make the case for Utah, but they're doing a bad job of it. They're 12-19. They have 12 wins. New Orleans has no reason to tank. They're just bad. Sacramento didn't come into the year wanting to tank. The Clippers weren't trying to tank. The Pacers, okay, maybe the Pacers are also tanking a little bit. Brooklyn's trying to win. Of all the problems I see in the NBA right now, one, I don't know if tanking is as bad as it has been in years past. And 2, it seems like oftentimes when the league tries to correct something like this, it just creates a bigger problem. So do you see tanking as an issue that desperately needs to be addressed right now? By the way, I should mention, you know who got wins over the weekend? A bunch of bad teams, Utah, Washington. There were some surprise wins from tanking teams over the weekend. So do you think it's a big problem?
I do think it's a problem, and I like anything that they're doing to try to address it. One of the most creative ones was when I looked at the possibility being floated around that you can't get a top 4 pick 2 years in a row.
You like that one?
I do kind of like that. I just think, look, it always gets back to the same thing for me, this topic, just like load management does. And load management doesn't necessarily apply to tanking teams. It can apply to contenders too. Like some guys get load management. It's always the same thing. Who's affected the most by it? It's the fans.
Yeah.
It's the consumers, it's the sponsors, it's the networks, right? All of those entities, right, are in partnership with the players, right? You're trying to create the best product you can that's got the most entertainment value, that's got the most interest. And when you feel like there's less of a product that you're about to tune into, it absolutely affects the way you view the league overall. So to me, while it's not something that's really like dramatically affecting the league, anything you can do to take away any incentive to not be competitive, I think is a good move by the league. Now, will it work? Will they actually implement some of this? That remains to be seen. But I like the fact that it's sitting on Adam Silver's desk, and he knows this is something that needs to be addressed. Competition in sports needs to be addressed in a way that you max out people's desire to compete every night, whatever that means. And tanking's a part of that for these bad teams. So whatever they can do even if it's just another 10% that they can take off of that, whatever percent they address, right. Adam, I think it's a good thing, man, in pro sports, because the fans are the ones most dramatically affected by teams that go through this.
I just worry that you can galaxy brain this and create a solution that makes things even worse. And your idea of 2 years in a row not being able to win a top 4 pick, some years it's Anthony Bennett, some years it's Zachary Risachet, who's, by the way, is on the trade block. There's just not all number 1 picks are equal. And so there is something to me of, man, it would just suck if the one year your team is bad is the year that Zachary Risachet is the top 1 pick, and that's what you got, and now you can't win it the next year. Your team is still bad. I think for me, they flattened the odds, and I think it actually helped tanking, where there wasn't that big of a gap from 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think they could even flatten that a little bit more, to where the marginal increase in being 5 games, 6, 7 games worse is just not there for a 2% better chance. If you're the 6 or 7 seed, you still have a really good chance at winning the 1 or 6 or 7 worst record. You still have a chance of winning the number 1 overall pick. I think that's probably the furthest extent I would go. But I just worry that the league comes up with a solution that actually makes things worse, not better, which is often the case when you try to change human nature, change what's going on in the league. It's just, you need good players, and the draft is the best way to get them when you're a mid-size or small-size market. Let's move on, though, because I know you were calling the Christmas Day game for the Lakers. Not a great showing. And you had some takes. In fact, you texted me saying you wanted to talk about this Lakers team and where they're at. They certainly look like the vibes are down there, but you were up close to it all. What did you observe?
Well, I think not just myself, I think our whole broadcast team was kind of in shock at what we watched that day, because it's not just that they lost to the Rockets. Both of those teams coming into that game struggling. Both needed wins. The Lakers had lost 5 out of 9. The Rockets had lost 7 out of 11. Okay. I mean, you're a contender, a title contender. You don't see too many teams that are actual title contenders that go on to conference finals or finals that same year, have a stretch where they lose 7 out of 11 games at some point in the season. So you're coming in, and Ime Udoka, he had called out his own team because they had played the Clippers right before that. And he actually said, yeah, the Clippers aren't even known for playing hard, and they played way harder than we did. And he challenged his team. And so JJ Redick had some choice words for his group going into that game. So I'm sitting there going, okay, let's see what the response is going to be for these two teams. Houston clearly came out, played hard. They looked together, connected. Now they got a lead early, and that helps, I think, your morale on a given night. What we saw from the Lakers was, there's no other word I could come up with than passionless. That's what it looked like to me. And it looked like that to all of us, everybody. And these people, these poor fans that basically went out there late afternoon, 5 o'clock local on a Christmas day. Goodness knows what they shelled out for those seats to go to this game. And at no point did you feel any energy in the building, because the Lakers gave them no reason to believe at all that they were going to be in the game. They were listless. Their defense was just apathetic. They didn't look connected on offense. And then more importantly, and this is the stuff you pick up on when you're sitting courtside as opposed to watching on TV because you cut to a commercial break. I'm sitting there during the breaks and I'm just watching all of the interactions. And I'm just like, this team is not connected. They're not connected, and you can't win if you're not connected. I don't care how much talent you have. There are nights they're going to win games because of this ridiculous talent that they have with Luka, LeBron, and even Austin Reeves, who didn't play that night. But they're just the lack of cohesion amongst their team, the lack of guys talking to each other, walking off the court, talking to each other in the huddles, like figuring it out collectively. It was absent. And it was kind of alarming, man. We all felt the same way when the game ended. Like, wow, I can't believe the Lakers just didn't look like they really wanted to be here today. So, and of course, JJ Redick comes out after and has very, very pointed words about the whole thing. Talks about practice on Saturday is going to be uncomfortable and all this, and we're going to adjust. I'm not living through 53 more games like this. I can't do it. They came out, they smacked the Kings around. The Kings are a bad team. Lakers smacked them around. I wasn't at the game, so I don't know if the connection looked any better. They certainly played harder. I looked at the game. I watched the entire game. They played harder. LeBron had some juice to him. That helped them, I think. Luka played better, had some success early, still whining way too much with the officials. It's distracting. But I don't know, Adam. I don't know how to view this team, because rarely do I see a team that I genuinely think can do some damage look that disinterested at any point in the season. And that's how they looked that day. And it was kind of really eye-opening to me. I don't know that it's going to stay that way. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just telling you how it looked and what that means in terms of how you label this team and what you expect from them as the year goes on.
What did you make, though, of J.J. Redick's comments? Because he's been kind of hitting this note a lot lately, to your point. They've had these lifeless performances, and he's been laying into the team, doing the tough talk in the media scrums and everything else. And I just wonder, when coaches go to that, it's almost like you have to pick your spots. There's a time and a place for it. And when you hear it too many times in a row, as I have with the Lakers, I wonder, is that effective right now for the team? It doesn't seem to be. And then you saw DeAndre Ayton at practice when he said, we're going to have practice tomorrow, and it's going to be tough, and blah, 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 and there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations. Ayton kind of laughed it off. So what do you make of the comment that he made and the note that he's playing with his team right now?
I think it's far more effective, and it can be done more than once a year if you've got a pretty much of a young core group. That's not what this team is. This team is composed of veterans, and some of the issues they're having defensively and offensively are in the veterans' laps. It's those guys. You're not going to all of a sudden create some environment at practice where you turn it into some sort of a war zone and you just want guys to practically come to blows because of how hard you're running them and scrimmaging them and all that with a veteran team. And I think that's why DeAndre Ayton was like, he said, oh, y'all fell for that? And he kind of just like blew it off. Like, you guys actually thought – so I don't know what they did at practice on Saturday. I really don't. I don't know. I know that they had a bad team coming up. They're supposed to beat, and they beat down. And their defensive numbers were a lot better than they have been. I don't think it's – look, does that mean J.J. Redick can never do that or take that approach? No, he was 100% right. Think about what he said. The main headline sentence that you take away from that presser after the Rockets game was, we don't care enough. Yep. Think about that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like that's first of all, that's very rare for a coach to go that deep. They might say, we just didn't play hard enough. We're not playing hard enough, blah, blah, blah. You hear that all the stuff. Guys question teams' effort all the time. That's a big statement. We don't care enough. Wow, man. Like, care about what? Each other? Winning? Trusting your teammates? Being there for your teammate? Making the right play for them? Following your defensive assignments? Sprinting the court in transition? Both ends? Like, that's what he's talking about, and he was 100% right. Now the question is, though, with a veteran-laden team with superstars at the top, what are you going to do to remedy it? And it really comes down to them. The most uncomfortable part of what he could probably do on Saturday, put them in the film room and let's watch this game frame by frame like the Zapruder film, and we're going to go through this thing, and you're going to be calling guys out. I don't care what your name is. Now, look, that could go the other way. Guys, certain star players get their feathers ruffled. You might have a problem on your hands, but it's worth the risk if you're J.J. Redick to do it your way. And there's nothing, to me, more accountable to a player than watching your cell phone film not give max effort. That's way more important to get out there scrimmaging and cleaning some things up on both ends. We're scrimmaging and talking through coverages and offense. Put him up on the film of what you guys looked like last night. Freeze it, stop, look. Okay, let's take a look at this. Look at the effort right here from these two guys getting back in transition. Look at this rotation along the baseline on a dribble drive. Look at this box out right here that didn't take place against the best rebounding team in the league. That puts guys on the spotlight for everybody else in the room. Guys can get ticked, but it's all true. Film don't lie is one of the best sentences ever given to professional sports. That's, to me, what JJ could have done on Saturday more than anything else. Again, we got to wait to see him play a good team that can put up numbers, because the Sacramento Kings are not that, and they kind of let go of the rope a little bit in this game. So anyway, it's a good test. They played well. They played harder. Let's see what happens here going forward.
My favorite recurring callback you have is the Zapruder film. I think that's my favorite Leglerism. It makes a reference every now and then. It's right. It's right in front of releasing the Doves, the Isaiah Hartenstein floater, yes. Releasing the Doves. That might be number 2, but the Zapruder film, I like that one too. Real quickly, the Lakers' schedule does not really get tough. They have Detroit coming up tomorrow. That's obviously a tough game. There's some tough games sprinkled in. over the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks. But come January 20th, they head out on a 7-game road trip. And if you just look at their schedule from January 20th on, it gets really tough. I'm not sure this team is actually good and is going to survive it. But one take I have, I want to ask you if you think they are a good team. Like, is this team worth it? Or are they just off to a good start and, they're a 4 seed? This year, Legs, I feel like the schedule, more so than any other year, is just so uneven. You see a lot of these great teams. Denver's one of them, by the way, the team I cover. They just haven't played most of the good teams in the league yet. And so you wonder, what they are. I look at the Lakers and I say, I don't think I'm buying them. I was a while back. I don't think I'm buying them anymore. And I think come January 20th, if things haven't changed, they are about headed for a rude awakening as they go on the road at Denver, at Cleveland, maybe not so good, at New York. They're going to play Golden State, Oklahoma City, San Antonio. They got a bunch of tough games in a row come January 20th. So are they a good team, Legs?
They are a wildly inconsistent team. It's not like they're never good. There's absolutely, and I think what's going to happen, and JJ Redick, I think, has come to this conclusion. The best they can be defensively is mediocre. That's the best they can be, but they're not that.
No, they're 25th.
That's what I'm saying. So if he can get them up into the 15 area, basically middle of the pack, their offense can be so good some nights that it can overcome the mediocre defense. It can't overcome that level defense that I saw on Christmas Day. And it certainly can't overcome it if the offense also looks that disconnected and disinterested. Okay. So their talent when all 3 guys play can be so good that if we're just average defensively, we got a shot. Now their 3-point shooting is an issue. It's been an issue all year. That's streaky. That comes and goes. But 3 guys to break down defenses the way that they can at the top of that roster, it just mediocre defensive effort can be enough a lot of nights. Now, your point about the schedule is a good one, but here's what I'll say to you, Adam. 2 of the next 5 games, they got Detroit at home.
Yeah.
You want to send a message that, like, you guys were embarrassed by what you look like on Christmas Day, and that's not beating up the Kings on the road. If you're embarrassed about that, then you've got to get Detroit at home, who, by the way, just lost to the Clippers. So you're going to get their best punch, because that's one thing about JB Bickerstaff. He's all about that, not back-to-back. I don't care if we're playing 2 good teams on the road in LA. We're gonna bounce back with a subpar defensive effort. I think that's what he thinks that was against the Clippers. So they're going to be ready to play in that game. It's going to be very physical. If you're the Lakers, you win that game. Okay, man. You go, okay, you know what? Maybe they really are taking account for the way they look during that stretch, and they're going to play harder most nights to give them a chance. They also have San Antonio coming up pretty soon with back-to-back Memphis games at home after Detroit. They get all 3 of those. You go to San Antonio, and that's, maybe you don't win the game, but at least you can send a message that, like, that's not who we were on December 25th. That's not what we're going to be. That's what I'm waiting to see here over the next 10 days or so.
Let's move on to the next team in LA, which is, of course, the Clippers, who don't look now, Legs. They've won 4 in a row. The Lakers, the Rockets, the Blazers, the Pistons, that's actually a good 4-game win streak. That's not, they just got a soft spot in their schedule. And Kawhi Leonard, I cannot believe this is true. His first 50-point game in his career, 55 points. Another stat for you that I don't know if you're aware of, he's shooting 97.6% from the foul line this year, 123 of 126. He's only missed 3 free throws all season long. He's averaging a career-high points per game, which is wild. But the Clippers, who we have written off for good reason, I mean, they were down there with the tanking teams and below some of the tanking teams. They're now 10-21. They've won 4 in a row. Their upcoming slate is very winnable. They got Sacramento and Utah, then Boston and Golden State. All 4 of those are at home. Are they back to life? Is there a little life in the Clippers right now, and they might be able to claw their way back into this?
There is. I mean, it's a massive hole to dig out of, but, you're talking about because of the expanded playoff format that the NBA came up with, like, you have a lot more hope than sitting there thinking like you got to get to 8. Like now it's just like, really just got to get to 10 and you have a shot at least. And I think they got their sights set on higher than that. A couple things jumped out to me about this. One, they're playing well right now. You can't deny it. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's been healthy again. Like he finished the year healthy, missed a stretch earlier, but the way he looks right now, that was, to me, as dominant an offensive performance, and I watched the entire game, as I've seen all season. That was robotic, mechanical, unstoppable. do whatever I want to you. There's nothing that could be done against Kawhi Leonard in this game. By the way, also shocked that when he got to 48 points and they said that's his career high. Right?
It's crazy.
How in the world? You know what it is, though? Like, he's never been a high volume 3-point shooter. He's been a good percentage 3-point shooter. But like those 50-point nights, a lot of times are going to require some threes. Maybe you get to the line 15 times. Like he's a lot of mid-range stuff mixed in there. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I couldn't believe he'd never had a 50-point game. So I was unaware, just like you were. That's one thing that jumped out to me. The other thing was this, Adam. James Harden is averaging more points than he has since he was in Houston. This is the most he's averaged since he was in Houston his last year. And if you're sleeping on James Harden a little bit, like you, because last night they even put it up on the screen. He was at the line, 26 points a game. I was kind of like, James Harden's averaging 26 points a game right now.
That's a lot of points.
And and look, whether you like his style or not, the guy's still a very effective player offensively. When Kawhi's playing like this, I mean, they look like a team. Like you go, man, this is a team you're going to have to show up and play. If Kawhi Leonard, it looks this healthy and James Harden's playing this well, they got a belief right now that's building in them a little bit after this horrific start. They're a really interesting team to keep your eyes on here over the next few weeks.
So here's the situation with them. They are 10-21, and that puts them at 8.5 games back of the 7 seed, which would be 9.5 games back of the 6 seed. You can kiss the playoffs goodbye. You're not going to make a top 6 seed. It would take an unbelievable run for them to catch that Minnesota cutoff, or you can even throw Phoenix in there, that cutoff. What they are capable of catching up to is the 8 seed, which right now is occupied by the Golden State Warriors. There's a little shelf right there. They have 16 losses. The Clippers have 21. That puts you 5 games to make up. 5 games is hard to make up against teams that are above 500. It's hard to make up 5 games. So even that, they're going to have to go on an incredible run. But I looked at their schedule, and unlike the Lakers, they have an incredibly soft one coming up. They have some, I think, 2 games you look at out of their next 12 will they will be underdogs. They are going to be underdogs at New York on January 7th, and they're probably going to be underdogs at Detroit on January 10th. Outside of that, Sacramento, Utah, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Washington twice, Chicago, they have a chance here, Legs, to go on a run. And I was looking at it. I think they'll be favored in 10 of their next 12. If you can win the games you're favored in and go 10-2 in your next, that gets you back to 500. The season resets. And again, I don't think you can climb out of the play-in just because the West is too difficult. But that, to me, it's almost like their season comes down to these next 12 games. If you take care of that business and you get back into that play-in zone, okay, the season resets. Maybe you could win the first round of the play-in and you get to that 7-2 matchup. But that's what it takes. If they don't take care of business in the next 12 games, I just don't see it happening for them.
I agree. And I think that they're going to take this and they're going to basically break this season into segments, probably 5-game stretches. Yeah. This one's been great. Now this next one coming up, I think Ty Lue is just going to continue to preach the message. Let's just continue to stay consistent. Something else I thought about during this game, I was watching Kawhi do what he was doing to this team. If you pull up any list, I don't care. I just picked one randomly this morning. It was Bleacher Report. I just pulled it up because they're always ranking players historically, and just punch in top 100 or top 50, whatever number you want to come up with, and just go look at some of these lists and where they have Kawhi Leonard. And I'm watching this guy last night, Adam, and I'm saying to myself, like Bleacher Report had him 32nd. And I'm saying to myself, that's all because of the time he missed.
Yeah, because he didn't play.
It's no reflection whatsoever on his game. And if you look at the guys that are around him on these lists from anywhere from like 20 to 40, let's just say, a lot of those guys didn't have injuries. They had whole careers. And I'm going, they're not as good as Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is, first of all, a defensive player of the year level defender. One of the best I've ever seen on the perimeter with his size, strength, quickness, and reach. On top of it, this is a guy that's been a 2-time finals MVP, one more as a role player on the Spurs, and then as the guy for 1 year going into Toronto and winning a championship there. I was watching him do his thing in this game at the highest level he's ever done it, his career high scoring night, just unstoppable force. And I'm going, this dude is way better than a top 30 NBA player all time in terms of just physical talent.
Yeah.
It's a shame. You think about, what if he hadn't sustained those injuries and missed as much time as he did? Where would he rank then? All-time list. I mean, he's that good. He's a top 20 all-time talent. There's no question in my mind about that. That's the kind of physical tools he brings to the game. And when he puts it all together on a given night, even at this stage of his career, after all those injuries, the guy's still so unique in the way he plays and so dominant in that specific area of the floor. He's right there in that category with that area of the floor with guards. Kobe, Michael, Dwayne Wade, Kawhi Leonard are the 4 best ever at the shooting guard position in dominating you from 12 to 20 feet.
I still think you factor in durability, though, when you talk. Just because when you get to the top, I mean, we see this with all the players that we're trying to look at. Could they be top 10, top 15, whatever, the current greats, the Kevin Durant's and the Jokic's and those guys. And at that level, it becomes little margins. Things like, yeah, but what kind of teammate was it? What kind of leader? You know, how do you do in the clutch? All these little things. And durability is one of them. And then also the question with Kawhi has always been, is it just durability? Is it just, oh, yes, there's the injuries? Or is there also a level of, is he going to play? Does he want to play? Or, you know, is he committed to the team fully the way that you want your best guys to be committed? And that's, I think, what knocks him down to that zone. So to me, I don't have a problem with it. What I will tell you, though, to give him some love, I made a list because his game, and when you see last night, and you can just watch the highlights of last night's game, it'll take about 12 minutes just to get through the highlights of Kawhi Leonard. We talk about Kawhi Leonard as one of the most aesthetically pleasing players to watch in the NBA. I think his game is just gorgeous. So I made a list of the 5 most aesthetically pleasing players in the league right now, currently playing, Legs. I'm curious what you can critique my list here as I go. Honorable mention I'm going to give to Paul George. I think Paul George's game is gorgeous. Like, whatever you think of how his decision-making and mental toughness and everything else, his footwork, his release, everything he does is just textbook perfect and fundamentally sound. I think his game is when he's on, his game is very beautiful. How's he for 6?
I totally agree with that. He's just, the word to describe him is smooth. He's one of the smoothest players I've ever seen. His movements are so silky. You know, it's, again, for him, it's been the 2 things. Durability has been an issue for him, and it's also been like having those big signature playoff moments. Yeah, you know, when you have to have them tonight, we need you to be great in a big pivotal game in a playoff series. He's struggled with some of that, which has kind of kept him down the list a little bit when you start looking historically. But in terms of just watching him, I like that one.
Number 5, I had to put my homer take on this, but I swear I'm on this island. I think it's Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is underrated in how good he's phenomenal in the post. He's got a million little herky-jerk moves and crossovers and step backs. His jumper, when he elevates, is just perfectly balanced. He gets red hot. I think Jamal Murray's game is very aesthetically pleasing. He's number 5.
I love Jamal Murray. I know how important Jamal Murray's game is to the Nuggets. I know, you know, how good he's playing this year. He's been incredible this year. I don't know that I would describe him as aesthetically pleasing. I think, to me, that might be a little bit of the Denver Nuggets nightlight coming out in you. I think a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, my Jamal Murray nightlight that I put right here, right there by my bed.
You got the Jamal Murray. You know, you got your chair in your office upholstered with Jamal Murray's number. It's a little bit of that.
This is not top 5 most fun to watch. This is top 5 aesthetically pleasing. I
don't know, man. To me,
I
don't know.
I think most people are going to agree with you on this one. I have Kawhi Leonard number 4. I just think Kawhi Leonard, again, his game is so text, but the moves he gets to his spot in ways that you're like, yep, that was perfect. Elevates, everything was perfect about it. It's just very smooth. We just talked about him. All right, top 3. I went with Brandon Ingram. I love watching Brandon Ingram. I hate his decision making. I haven't been the biggest fan of his, although Toronto has him playing pretty well. But his movements, his one-on-one game, the way he gets to his shot, even his high release on his jumper, to me, there's just something gorgeous about it. His game is so silky smooth, and he has every move.
He has you in a relaxed state of mind watching him because he looks so relaxed. He looks almost too relaxed. But he's got some Paul George, too. He's longer, but it's similar to what you're saying. Yeah. Like, just the way their bodies move when they change directions with the ball and get into their shots so effortlessly, even when they're guarded. The long stride when he shoots those little finger roll scoop shots on the way to the rim. You know what I mean? Yeah, I like that. That Brandon Ingram, for me, he's Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I think I would put them a little bit in a different category than Jamal Murray, just in terms of watching them.
Most people would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see Devin Booker. He probably is on my honorable mentions list. He's also very.
Here's what's funny, man, because over the 3 years we've done the show, You've used the word aesthetically pleasing to describe Devin Booker so many times. I thought for sure he was one of the top 5.
I probably should have had him on the honorable mentions list, to be honest. He belongs on there. His jumper, but he's not on my list.
Pretty, man. His game's pretty.
My number 2 is Anthony Edwards. I just think his body control is unbelievable. The elevation on his shot is gorgeous. His jumper is gorgeous. And he has the combination of smooth footwork to get to his jumpers and then the ability to go to the basket and finish with smoothness as well. To me, when he's on, his game is as beautiful to watch as almost anyone in the league except for the number 1 guy.
I like that one too. I will say that when I get away from being aesthetically pleasing with him is when he strings together 4 or 5 like 3-point shots in a row of his attempts without mixing it up more, because I think that's a win for the defense a lot of times.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I kind of go, man, it looks like a lot of guys now when you play that way. But overall, I like that one. And I think he's different than these other guys because of the outrageous athleticism that can explode at the end of plays. It's a little bit different than the other guys you mentioned. So that gives you that. It's smooth, it's aesthetically beautiful, but it's also then can bring you off your seat because of the explosive power that he can finish with.
And then number 1 for me is Kyrie Irving. There's nobody whose games like he has the best highlights in slow motion. You know, his game is gorgeous. It's textbook perfect. He can finish. He can do all these different things. But then you could watch him in slow motion and it's gorgeous to watch. You could go at 1/10 the speed and you're still like, man, everything is perfect to his game. So I think Kyrie, to me, aesthetically pleasing, number 1 guy.
I mean, I like Kyrie Irving a lot too, but I mean, for me, there's one clear-cut guy, and it's been this way for a long time, and it will be this way. Maybe until he retires, because he's still doing it at such a high level. And it's Steph Curry.
Yeah. I mean, he's more in the entertaining than aesthetically pleasing to me, but I mean, sure. I mean, he's number 1 on entertainment, I would say.
I guess maybe I'm those two expressions, entertaining and aesthetically pleasing, are to me a little bit more synonymous with each other than maybe your definition of those two things.
Yeah. I just think Kyrie, man, when you watch him, you're like, you could learn the game of basketball, the individual game, by watching Kyrie and then just go out and practice some of his moves. You probably won't be able to pull them off, but the footwork on him is just so perfect. What I like about this list, it's got the chat hot. The chat is hot at me right now for my list, but this is what I like about it. Everybody's aesthetics are a little bit different, so everybody gets to have their own list, and maybe that's a good prompt for everybody to throw a comment below on the show. Let me know who your top 5 most aesthetically pleasing guys are. It's different from entertainment value, aesthetically pleasing. I'm curious what people say. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, I wanted to wrap up today's show by talking about a couple players who are having under-the-radar seasons, perhaps. We'll get to those guys on the other side. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30, it's NBA Happy Hour on FanDuel, your pregame for the weekend. We're talking limited time specials you won't want to miss. Boosts, bonuses, surprises, all dropping in the app during Happy Hour. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app to see the week's special. Then make your move before the shot clock expires at 7:30 Eastern. It's the perfect way to start your weekend. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirements, and max wager amounts. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. I also want to tell you guys about Shopify. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a storyteller, and I wanted to be a sports analyst. I got to do both of those things, and thanks in large part to Shopify. But Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., including the All City Network, which powers our merch store. We have some of the best sports merch on the planet. In particular, if you are a fan of Denver, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Phoenix, and more locations coming soon. But we even have All City merch up on our website, some nice hoodies, hats, a bunch of different things. If you haven't checked it out, you want to check it out, but it is powered by Shopify. It's got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email, and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. If you're a small business owner, you always want to know what tools do I need to make sure you want the fewest tools that can do the most things. Shopify is that. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into cha-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All NBA show. It's me and Tim Legler. Legs, there's 3 guys I wanted to talk about today. And I know I can already hear the comments later on saying, how did you not talk about the Toronto Raptors? How did you not talk about them? Are you guys hating on the Raptors? Well, last night they got a big win over the Golden State Warriors in overtime, 141-127. And they got that win in large part because of Scottie Barnes. 23 points, 25 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, was a plus 24 in his 42 minutes, which is always crazy. It means they got actually murdered when he was not on the court. Scottie Barnes, to me, is a guy I really, really like. I like his game. And here's what I liked watching the highlights from his game last night. I love the pace that he plays at. He doesn't play at like a Russell Westbrook pace where he's, going a million miles per hour. And yet he seems to play just as hard, but he plays hard in a controlled pace. That's the first thing. I have another thing on Scottie Barnes, but 25 rebounds for him last night. That stat line is incredible. But just real quick, what do you think of him, and what do you think about the pace he plays the game at?
Scottie Barnes is he's a force, and he's a really unique player. And I don't know if he's considered your best player. Are you going to be necessarily like a contender? If Scottie Barnes is on a team and they've got enough offensive talent above him, yeah. And like he's like the third guy offensively in terms of counting on every night with everything else that he does, and you got a hell of a team. Like you got a real chance there because he does so many things to help you win. By the way, when I heard 25 rebounds pop up on my screen last night, immediately, and it said tied a franchise record. Did you know immediately who that guy was that he tied?
I think because I heard it on the broadcast. Okay. But otherwise I don't think I would have thought of it.
For some reason, immediately I knew. I remembered the game. Bismack Biyombo. And remember, he had that run with the Raptors that was like when they were battling the Cavs to get out of the East, like during that time when it was DeMar DeRozan was there, and they were close, but they didn't have Kyle Lowry. They didn't have quite enough. Bismack Biyombo was like doing serious damage for the Toronto Raptors. So I knew it was him right away. But you're talking about a guy that's basically a small forward. I mean, he can handle the ball a little bit like a point guard at times, but he's basically a 3, can play 4 in modern NBA.
3-4, yeah.
25 boards, man, it's serious work on a night when you also go for 20-plus points and 10 assists. Monster night for him. Now, I think what some people, Adam, with Scottie Barnes, I think they look at the raw numbers and you go, has he really taken a leap like in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
And I think that's where people get a little bit hung up on Scottie Barnes because I don't think Scottie Barnes' upside is like I don't think he averages 26 at some point.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
Right. This is kind of what it is. And as a result, I think some people you disregard it because what we get excited about are guys in their 5th year like he is, that it's like every year they're taking this leap, right?
Right.
7 to 12 to 16 to 21 to 25. And now you're like, whoa, we got an all-league player on our hands. And Scottie Barnes has basically been at 19 plus for the last 3 years. Rebounding numbers kind of similar, 8, 7, 8. Assist numbers similar, 6, 5, 5. Everything's kind of same. He is shooting a higher percentage this year than he has, 50%. His 3-point percentage is way up at 35. So he's made improvements there. But overall, like the numbers you're looking for every night, it's kind of the same what he's been doing now for the 3rd year in a row. And I don't think that in any way should diminish how you view this guy's overall impact, even if it's not this like vast upside coming as a scorer, because I don't know that it will ever be that.
I agree. So here's Aaron Gordon. To me, his comp is Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon was asked a couple years ago, who's the next Aaron Gordon? Like this guy that maybe it miscast as a top guy, but if you put him in the spot you're talking about, if he's your 3rd best player, you're like, this is one of the 3rd best players in the league. And I think Scottie Barnes, he said Scottie Barnes. He said, I think that's the guy. And I think he's right about this. And here's what I loved about last night. So obviously you're not going to be a very big, you're playing the Warriors. It's a small team. So you're going to have rebound opportunities. They used him as a screener last night a bunch. and basically played him as if he was the center. You know, he was doing center type things, screen, roll, catch in the pocket, and make the play 4-on-3. And he did such an unbelievable job of it. And it wasn't just catching in the pocket or in the short roll and making plays. Then you would roll to the basket, don't get the ball, get down to the dunker, and the ball's going to find you because now the defense is in rotation, and can you make the plays there? And I just thought, watching him, I was like, man, how nice that he can mold his game from, you said small forward, a little bit of power forward. Last night it was center, and, you know, he's not going to be able to guard centers, but he can guard Al Horford. He can't guard most centers, but he can move into that role and just snap into it from an execution standpoint of, I know how to do this. I think that's the part that's rare. There's a lot of players, you move them one spot over and they're like, well, I don't know what to do now. His ability to say, I know how to play this spot, make plays, and then put up a career night it's just very impressive.
I agree with all of that. I also think there's something about his physical stature that kind of is really, you know, jumps out at you. He's 6'8" is what he's listed at. He looks a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 6'10".
Strong.
And he's 240 pounds practically. I mean, you're talking about a guy that is as big as most power forwards in this league that are considered enforcer type guys. Those physical dimensions aren't that far off, you know, from some of the bigger dudes in this league. And yet he moves so well, is such a versatile all-around player, shows up every night, competes, plays hard. I'm a big Scottie Barnes fan too. I think at one point you and I talked about him maybe a couple years ago, and I felt like you were higher on him in terms of overall ceiling and potential down the road probably than I was. But in no way was I ever like, oh, no, yeah, I'm not a big Scottie Barnes fan. I'm a big appreciator of what he does.
Yeah.
And I would love to see him. Look, they've had a nice turnaround this year in Toronto. They're relevant again. And Brandon Ingram's had a lot to do with that. They've gotten, you know, some punch from the guys they got in the Knicks trade. And then Scottie Barnes is doing his thing that he continues to do that now, you know, it's almost like you notice it more because they're winning more games this year. So they're interesting again. And now it looks like Toronto's going to be a playoff team, you know, and so we're going to get to see Scottie Barnes in that setting take on some of these top teams, whether it's in Detroit or in New York or Cleveland or whoever it may be, and get to see him in that setting. It's amazing what something like that, even if you lose 4-2 in the first round, whatever it may be, if that's what happens, if you have like 6 games to stand out and you're heavily impactful, it's amazing what that could do to change the way you're viewed around the league and your profile and where you rank.
Our next shout out, get it ready. Get the button ready there, James. Next shout out goes to my guy, Anthony Black. One of the stories of the season, I guess once we turned platforms, we don't have the my guy button anymore. What a bummer for me. But he's averaging 15.1 points per game, 6 points higher than he was last year. Some of that is just opportunity. They've had some injuries, so he's got to play, but he's performed unbelievably well. And he just got a win, or helped lead a win over the Denver Nuggets, which is a huge win for Orlando. And he did it because he made his three, 7 of 11 from the three-point line, 38 points. And oh, by the way, played incredible defense down the stretch on Jamal Murray. I just love his length, his defense, his motor. He wears guys down. He's in the right spot. The question is always, what can he give you on offense? I think he's a good passer. He does some point guardy things, but the X factor is shooting. But some nights this year, he's going 3 of 6, 3 of 5, 5 of 7, and over the weekend, 7 of 11. He's having a heck of a year, man. And I think he's on everybody's radar now of like, hey, this might be a guy. You know, Jalen Suggs is our guy. Anthony Black might be our other guy going forward that we just invest heavily in.
What's kind of crazy is he's in his 3rd year. He's 21 years old. I mean, he's 21 years old, and he has shown the kind of growth we were just talking about, like that you want to see when you start to get serious about players. He took a scoring average from 4 to 9 to 15 this year. His shooting percentage is coming up from the 3-point line. He was 39 as a rookie, but a very limited number of attempts. He went to 31 last year when he was playing all the time and taking more. He's up to 35. 35 is still below where I'd like to see it. If you can get that thing up to 38 and above, like now you're really a respectable 3-point shooter to go with everything else he does. Because in this game, you're talking about this Denver game, he did everything. He took it to the rim. He had mid-range pull-ups. He killed him from the 3-point line. He scored in transition. And, of course, he always plays great defense. I have a question for you, and I want to get you to get to the bottom of this for me with your Denver connections with the Nuggets.
Okay.
I want to know what their bench was saying to him in the early part of this game when he was basically lined up in the right corner, right in front of Denver's bench. And every time he hit 3 in a row. And every time he hit one, he turned and he had something very direct to say to the Nuggets bench, or at least was staring at somebody. It's hard to tell if he was talking. and you saw nothing but stoicism on the faces of the Nuggets sitting there. But there was clearly something was being said to Anthony Black as he was leaving the floor to release a three, probably because you're thinking that's a win for us. He's not a great three-point shooter. And after the first one, second one, when you get the third one now, you got something to say. If those guys are continuing to say, that's off, or as Mark Jones always likes to say, say he's with us, like he's on our team when he shoots those threes. I'm curious to know. I want you to get to the bottom of that for me. What did they have to say to him? Who was chirping, and what did he say back? Because he clearly got, I think, dialed in because of what was going on with those shots he made early in front of their bench.
Whatever they said, just don't say it again, man. That guy, he played unbelievably well. And I think if you're an Orlando Magic fan, I don't know. I've loved Anthony Black. He was my guy. I think my pick last year. I was maybe a year early on it because last year wasn't really a breakout year. It is this year. But he's a guy that I think Magic fans have to look at and say they have to make a decision before long. They have so much talent, and I'm not sure all the pieces fit. But I would find a way for Anthony Black to fit. I love Jalen Suggs. I like Anthony Black. I like Franz Wagner. To me, those would be the three guys. I like Tristan da Silva if you can keep him around. Those are the guys, but they have to make a choice because they have a lot of players, and Anthony Black is now emerging to a guy that I think you want to see more of in the coming years.
Can I ask you a quick question? Do you consider him he's a role player, right? You would consider him in that category? Okay.
Yes.
So based on that, and if you don't have the answer off the top of your head, think about it. We'll do it next show. I want to know the best star performance against the Nuggets you personally have watched this year. I want to know the best rookie performance, which I think is going to be Cooper Flagg. He had a great game against.
For sure.
No, Cooper Flagg. I mean, so I know the answer to that. And I want to know the best role player performance. Was this it?
Man,
Anthony Black?
That's a really good question. You know what? I do have to do some research for you. So maybe that's a good question for Wednesday. James, mark it down. I think that's a good question for Wednesday. It's always
with your own, because I see a lot of Nuggets, but I don't see as much as you. You watch every game start to finish. I'm looking at the entire league. It's hard to do that, but I've seen them enough. I'm curious. Like I was, because even for me, you could ask me of the games that I've seen or called this year, best star performance, best role player performance, best rookie performance. I think those are kind of interesting here as we sit here a third of the way through the season.
Maybe you could do the same, maybe for Wednesday, because you what you've seen in person, the same thing. I'd be curious. It's not going to be one team, but across all the games you've called, that might be a fun one. Last shout out though, really quickly, Jaylen Brown. They lost last night, so it's a weird night to be doing this, but I don't know if anybody notices he's averaging 29.5 points per game. That's a career high. Boston fourth in offense. They lose Jason Tatum. They lose Porzingis. You think, okay, this will be a down year offensively. Not the case. He just has kind of quietly been having a career year and keeping Boston afloat. And there's not a whole lot, of what I see, a whole lot of conversation about just how special a year he's having. So I think Jaylen Brown's flown a little under the radar, even though he's not a guy who is under the radar. But this season is under the radar for him.
I'll tell you what he's done, man. They're 7 games over 500 without Jason Tatum. And Jaylen Brown is the primary reason. They've had other guys step up too. Nothing compares to what Jaylen Brown has done. And he's a guy that has always, from the day he entered the league, gives you max effort defensively too. The guy really competes defensively, and he's just taken it to a level offensively that you don't know if the guy can dial that in at this stage of his career. He's been around a little while. And there's more focus and pressure on him, more double teams coming his way. And he's putting up the best numbers of his career as a scorer. Pretty incredible. And to the point where he's a guy that's going to be now hovering around first team all league type consideration. If they continue to win and they end up third in the Western Conference, I mean, because you're looking at Brunson's in that category, Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown's the top 3 guys on those top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, he has thrust himself into that conversation, if not first team, then second team. And going into the year, I don't know that anybody would have had him on that level, and they certainly wouldn't have had Boston, I don't think, sitting here 31 games in, 7 games above 500.
He's been fantastic, man. All right, let's go to our FanDuels of the night here to get out of here, James. FanDuels is presented by FanDuel, of course. You can get started with 150 in bonus bets. Use that promo code ALLNBA when you sign up. And what do we have? Suns, a full slate. Look at this, man. A lot of teams playing. Suns, Wizards, okay. Bucks, Hornets. Giannis is back. Hornets are fun to watch. That's a good one tonight, Legs.
That's a really good one. There's a number of games on here that I really, really like. I also am looking at the Cavs at Spurs. That could be a very entertaining game. And Magic Raptors is a good one.
Magic Raptors, phenomenal for sure. I'm into Hawks Thunder right now just because I want to see the Thunder. I want to see if they can kind of get their mojo back. They did win last night, so they have a little bit of momentum. What was the other one I was looking at? Yeah, Magic, Raptors, and Nuggets Heat. Nuggets Heat it could be a good one. Denver needs a bounce back. They have not lost back-to-back games yet this season. So now they'll go to Miami and see if they can get the Heat. So some good ones tonight. What do we got? Super chat. Henry Diesel says, no way you think Kawhi game looks good to watch. Look, I don't want to watch him on a night-to-night basis. He's not one of my favorite players to watch. I'm just saying his game, his footwork, and everything else is textbook perfect.
Yeah, listen, man, I totally agree with you, Adam. Yes, absolutely it is. And it's different because it's not like this super silky smooth or wildly creative or super athletic like some of the other guys we mentioned. That's kind of like, wow, that's really fun to watch. To me, it's more like it's like a really polished, like brand new tech piece that you got, right? It's all slick. It's super automated. And it's like, there's something about like, even like watching like a robot, like go on and
it's
like,
what it is, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like Google like a robot and some of the stuff that they can do. And you're like, man, that's really cool to watch. It's all sleek. That's kind of what we're talking about with Kawhi. I agree with Adam 100%. His footwork and balance and precision, his precision more than anything on his shot, how automatic that becomes when he gets going. Oh, come on, man. Yes. No, I disagree with you. I really, really enjoy watching them.
You've seen these robots, right? We're in the era of robots, or we're entering the era of robots where all the, you do see them, they could dance and they could do some things. Kawhi Leonard is like if you taught a robot all of Kobe's moves and then the robot was doing them to where they're not quite smooth. They look robotic, but it works.
Just, before we get off the air, Adam, you just triggered a thought in my head.
Oh, no.
The thing that's been the thing that's been driving me nuts for the last few years, the number of games that we do or I call or we watch or all of us collectively as fans, when star players aren't playing, have a robotic version of that player on that given night that can step in for them. Because you're taking the physical toll off the player.
That's perfect.
You're still getting the same level of performance.
I like it. I think you're onto something, Legs. Robot basketball.
Although it'd be funny to get the same body type on a robot. Like, can you imagine like Jokic's robot? Like,
or the Wemby robot.
Yeah, the Wemby robot. That actually the league would probably have to shut down if they had that. But,
that's so true.
But that's the answer. That's the answer, man. A robotic version of the top 20 players in the league. Problem solved.
This is why you tune into the All NBA show. We're always thinking forward. We're always seeing around the corner the newest trends. Robot basketball. Legs' idea. Send the check in the mail, Adam Silver. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you hit that like button for us. Do us a favor. Share the show on social media if you guys enjoy it. And hit that like button on the way out. We'll see you.
We all silly like the mayor.